I know you're so happy. I actually think the Red Sox might not suck this year.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
Me!
Presented by Bigelow Tea, Jackson Lumber, Blue Moonlight, Wellesley Testosterone, FindMassMoney.com, Gem Plumbing, and by Golf. On Boston's home for sports, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Line into right field. Anthony on approach. He's got it, and the Red Sox win this one going away. 12-1 the final. They blow out the Yankees in Game 3. They have won the series. Tomorrow they go for the sweep. And as mentioned, 8-1 head-to-head against the Yankees.
Well, the offensive explosion, obviously late. They did enough. Good fundamentals early, right? A couple of sac flies, gut guys in. But the story of this one's really Garrett Crochet does it again. Goes 7 innings for the 12th time this year. He just continues to dominate. You got an ace, and now you go for the sweep.
Crochet now 14-5.
Well, that was from Saturday at Yankee Stadium. The Red Sox go up 3-0 over New York at that time, obviously with the fourth game to go. But apparently, that's when the series ended. People obviously don't want to talk about last night's game, which I suppose I understand. It never happened in the minds of many. So anyway, this is where we're going to start on the Baseball Hour, 617-779-0985. The Red Sox take 3 out of 4. 3 of 4 from the Yankees in New York. And they are now basically tied with New York in the wild card race. A half game ahead, actually tied in the loss column. I always go by that loss column number. I am old school like that. I can't help it. But the losses, as they say, you cannot change, you cannot undo. You are stuck with those. And so Boston and New York now have the exact same number of losses. I said earlier today, I would have loved to have seen the sweep last night once it got to 3-0 in the series. So I want to clarify this remark because apparently it irritated some people. And I honestly look at it and say, had the Red Sox gone into that series and gotten 3 out of 4, I'd be happy. I was not expecting them to win the first 3. So once you got the first 3, the swing game became huge. And let me explain to you why. Going into last night, you were a game up over the Yankees in the race for the top wildcard spot. By losing, you are now even. If you had won, you'd be up 2. So you come out of this series having picked up on New York, but you're not ahead of them. You are tied with them. And I understand there are still 31 games to go. But that swing from being 2 up to now even, and again, I'm going by the loss column, makes last night, as they would say in hockey, a 4-pointer. The 2 they got, the 2 you lost. Now, did I expect them to win last night? With Dustin May going against Carlos Rodon, I didn't like the pitching matchup. And yet I would tell you there was a section in the middle of that game where I thought the Red Sox were going to have a chance. I would also tell you that on Friday night, I liked the Yankees better than I liked the Red Sox. But Boston won the game. Brian Bayo pitched great. He outdueled Max Fried. As a result, the key game of the series was Friday night. The Red Sox took 3 out of 4. So that part we're in agreement on. But the problem with losing the finale in any series that you've already clinched, and when I say clinch the series, I always say try to win the series. And in the short term, that's the goal in any major league season. Play the series, win the series, move on. But when you have a chance to get a sweep and really stick the other team with some damage, it's just an opportunity that got away. It doesn't mean it's a negative or the Red Sox can't overcome it, but it was an opportunity that got away. What we would normally play for you coming out on a Monday is the final out from the night before. So here is how the game ended last night.
Red Sox right now on the short end, trailing 7-2. Lowe the runner at third. Rafaela the runner at second, 0-1. McMahon gobbles it up, long throw, short hop, picked by Goldschmidt, and that's the ball game. Some good good defense tonight, especially by McMahon. Goldschmidt helping him out that time, and the Yankees avoid a 4-game sweep.
See McMahon go right to Goldschmidt and say, thanks, brother.
Yeah, and look, it's about the power today when you talk about the Yankees. Grisham and that man right there were able to power through and get the Yankees a much-needed victory here, prevent a sweep from the Boston Red Sox.
So it's Eduardo Perez. And again, now this is my point in it. He says a much-needed win for the Yankees. And I would agree. Think of the damage it would have done to the New York psyche if the Red Sox had gone in there and swept them. I am not. Let me repeat this because apparently a lot of people are having trouble understanding this logic. I am not saying the weekend was a failure. The weekend was a success. But you had a chance to kick them while they were down. And Dustin May went out there. The Red Sox really never got command of the game. I've completely lost faith in Dustin May and frankly in his chance to give the Red Sox anything of value for the remainder of the season, let alone the playoffs. Because last night in Yankee Stadium, I thought he looked terrified. So he lost to a better pitcher. He did not handle the moment well. Yankee Stadium is a horrible place for him to pitch because if you throw a right-hander that can't get lefties out, at Yankee Stadium, you're going to get what you got last night, which was 3 home runs, 5 hits he gave up, 4 of them were for extra bases, and the lefties teed off. I got this email earlier in the day from Brian. I won't say from where. I don't want to read his last name. Actually, I take it back. It says Brian in Hartford. Brian says, so the Sox win 3 out of 4 in the Bronx in what you described as a hugely important series. In what you described as a hugely important series. And the takeaway is that they didn't get a sweep and that they aren't magically 10 games ahead of the Yankees in the standings. Your show is beyond parody at this point. And this was during Foger and Maz. Time to shut it down. Okay, so I didn't say the weekend was a failure. I acknowledge that I did say it was an important weekend series. And if you could go in there and get a minimum of 2, that avoids disaster. 3 would be good because you make up the 2 games you've lost in the wild card race. 4, I'm not even considering because I think that's not realistic. The Red Sox then won the first 3 and had a chance at 4. So does it make me a bad guy, Jimmy Stewart? Because all of a sudden I looked at it and said, wow, they could sweep this?
No, you're not a bad guy. You've been a Yankees fan for years now.
So just because they won 3 in a row, it's okay to go in there and take your foot off the gas and lose? And I'm talking about the fan mentality now. Like it's okay to say, this one's gravy. We're going to get out of here. No problem. When you could have been up 2 heading into Baltimore. I can't look at it that way. Not at this stage of the season. You want to tell me, first of all, that you're fighting with the Yankees for the top wild card spot. Maybe you think the Yankees are cooked and they're done. I don't. I think they could get a game back tonight. I think it could be that quick. But a lot of you are confident in the team, and look, good for you. I'm not. I still don't know if they're playing all that great. I just think the Yankees played worse. You take away the game on Saturday in which the Yankees completely self-destructed, and going into the series was a must-win for you because you had Crochet going. But take away that game, the Red Sox hit .218 in the series. It's not like they scored a lot of runs. Now they pitched, and again, the Bayo game on Friday night was the biggest game of the series. Oh, but you had a chance to really stick it to him last night. To really stick it to him. And you never really had a chance at the game once it got started because May was garbage. And, which brings me to another point, I sort of look at last night and say, boy, you could have used another starting pitcher other than Dustin May in that game last night because you're thin now. You're going with a bullpen game tonight in Baltimore. And you're short a starting pitcher. Wouldn't Joe Ryan have been a nice guy to send out to the mound last night? You could have done that. That might have made a big difference. But 3 out of 4, you'll take it, obviously. Weekend was a success, obviously. But you did miss a chance to drive a stake through the heart of the Yankees. It could have been a big, big blow to New York. 617-779-0985. Next segment, we'll check in with someone in Baltimore, but in the interim, we'll take your calls. We'll kick it off tonight with Sean in Marlboro. Sean, what do you got?
Maz, I love you. You're my baseball guy, but sometimes you're, I want to say a turd, but I'll go with just a hypocrite.
Turd's okay. It's all right.
You're the one that says there's no such thing as momentum in baseball. You're the one that says, any pitching matchup. So with that said, if you were to look at the best team in Major League Baseball going into the worst team in Major League Baseball for a 4-game series, you would only expect a 3 out of 4 series. You can't, it's not about the fans saying, oh, it's just one game. It's, you go into this saying 2 out of 2 is likely, or 2 out of 4 is likely. Sox fans aren't letting up. It's just realistic that we had a worse pitcher than theirs. Yes, we could have done more at the deadline, but Matt, stop being a turd. Come on.
Okay, so Sean, but this is my point. Again, you make those proclamations about any series before the series begins. So we all say that going in, we'll get 3 out of 4. So then you win the first 3. You don't need the fourth one. You just lose it. And when I say lose it, I'm not saying you throw the game or blow the game on purpose. I'm saying your mentality. You go in playing that game saying, we don't need this one, no big deal. Because if you do, then you will lose it. And I think that is the kind of mentality that you have to fight and push against when you're at this time of the schedule. You don't have time anymore to make up all the losses. So I understand the reality of 3 out of 4. I just told you that. But when you have the chance for the fourth one, it should still sting a little when you lose it. That's the point. That's my only point. Was it a good accomplishment for them winning 3 out of 4? Yes. So you're saying that they should have been okay showing up at the ballpark last night and losing? Ed's in Rhode Island. Ed, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I just want to point out that the last 6 games of the season for the Red Sox, to play the Toronto Blue Jays, the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, and then Detroit comes in for the last 3. Okay. Now, if they can beat the teams that they should be able to beat during the regular season, the weak teams, I could foresee that the last 6 games of the season could be a pennant race or for the wild card, one of the two.
Yeah, so Ed, I understand what you mean. Here's what I tell you about those final games at the end of the year. If things are as they stand right now, let me just quickly punch up the standings again. I know the Red Sox are 5 behind in the American League East, and the Tigers are 10.5 up. I mean, that one's not even remotely close. Those games aren't going to mean anything to Toronto and Detroit. So they won't even they won't start their best pitchers. If the games mean something to the Red Sox, the quote-unquote hard games on their schedule at the end might not be that hard. Those teams are going to rest a lot of their players. They're going to treat them like spring training games. If the pitchers do pitch, because, again, those two teams I think will get buys, right? So I don't know. Maybe they'll pitch their they will get the buys. Detroit and Toronto will get the buys. They may pitch their starters 4 or 5 innings to get the work in, but it won't be any heavy lifting. It might even be less than that. Get them 70 pitches and get them out of there. And then, you can beat their bullpen or what have you. But those could be easy games. And if you have a big enough lead, you might not need to play them either. To do that, though, you would need to win games like the one last night. So, am I telling you to cry about it? No. I'm just telling you could have really stuck it to the Yankees last night. But with Dustin May on the mound, you had no chance. 617-779-0985. We'll continue with your calls, and we will check in with Chris Cotillo of Mass Live, who to get his thoughts and take his temperature on the Red Sox here, entering the final, let's call it month of the season, 31 games to go. That's next.
Sports Hub.
Driven deep to left field. Bellinger back. Turning. Looking. See ya. A 2-run home run by Narvaez. And it can't get much worse than this.
Well, Michael, you said, every once in a while you get embarrassed on the field, and this game has just snowballed. Crochet was the thing you had to get through, and he was just too good. But then the Yankees have absolutely fallen apart here in the last couple innings.
And, this is what you call a punt, for the Yankees and Aaron Boone. Nobody warm it up. Blackburn's got to wear it. Not a good look. Fans don't like it.
Popped up. This will mercifully end the inning. And quite frankly, the Yankees are getting schooled by the Red Sox here on this Saturday afternoon in the Bronx.
That's what it sounded like on the Yes Network on Saturday. 5-1 game going in the ninth. The Yankees self-destruct. They give up 7 runs. Aaron Boone put Paul Blackburn into the game, let him get slaughtered out there, and the lead ballooned to 12-1. You can hear the discontent throughout Yankee Stadium. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear this, but nationally, people aren't looking at that series and talking about the Red Sox. They are looking at that series and talking about what happened to the Yankees and how the Yankees fell apart. Now, they won the finale. New York did, so they're still tied for that top spot in the loss column. Tied for that for that first wild card spot, but half game behind the Red Sox because the Red Sox have one more win. And but make no mistake, how the Yankees played was far more revealing than how the Red Sox played. For those of you on the line, I asked you to just sit tight momentarily. We'll bring in Chris Cotillo now of Mass Live, who joins us on the phone. Chris, you tell me, looking at the weekend, who was that series more about, the Yankees or the Red Sox?
I said it Saturday as we were walking out to your friend Ian Brown. I said the Yankees are losing these games and they're the real story here, but you have to give the credit to the Red Sox as well for winning. I don't think it's totally binary where the Red Sox Anthony still needed to homer and Bayo and Crochet still needed to pitch well. There was a couple moments here that were turning points based on the Yankees' sloppiness, but we've seen Red Sox team in the past, the very recent past, kind of play to that level. So, the Red Sox deserve credit for going in there and winning 3 out of 4. At a certain point, when you win 8 in a row against a team like they have or they had before last night, it's not an outlier. It's not something to sneeze at, and so they deserve credit for taking care of business. But yeah, the Yankees were clearly a mess. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Kind of across the board. And even last night, it felt like it's been so one-sided and the frustrations in New York are so bad that it almost feels like a guarantee that the Yankees would come out and play pretty well last night. And they did. I think Dustin May was a part of that too. But, no matter how it was going to come before the series, you would have taken 3 or 4 from the Red Sox any which way, and that's what happened.
Okay, so Chris, let me ask you this question. And Mike Felger asked me this today on Felger and Maz. I'm curious as to your answer. The Red Sox now in possession of the top spot in the wild card race by a half game. They're tied with the Yankees in the loss column. But if the season ended today, the wild card series between Boston and New York would be played at Fenway Park. All 3 games would be played at Fenway Park. Does the weekend performance at all suggest to you that it doesn't really matter whether the Red Sox finish first or second? They've had the Yankees number this year, and they'll be fine either way. What's your take on that?
I think this is a team that has just played so well at home for so long. That's if I'm the Red Sox, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they are at home. Now, that might be a pretty interesting thing that last weekend when the Tigers are in town, because it'll come down to maybe is home field worth pitching Crochet and not lining him up for game 1? And that's a debate that I think that obviously a lot can change in the month between now and then. But, you're going to want, Crochet and definitely I think Bayo ahead of Giolito right now lined up for 1 and 2. The rest is, not what it used to be, heading into some of these series and with the waiting out, the one-game wild card playoff. If you got into the division series, this wild card series is, they play the Tigers at home Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They'll have Monday off, and that wild card series begins Tuesday. So, you have to have your kind of your rotation in order. And I think for this Red Sox team, that's going to be paramount then because, I think as you guys were talking about before, but it is obvious to anybody who watches, they have 3 starters. They don't have a good 4th starter, and they don't have right now a 5th starter really on the roster, Bernardino, opening tonight. So, you're going to have to do everything you can to line up those 3 guys in Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito. Make sure Crochet, pitches, at one of those first 2 games. So I think that'll be really interesting down the stretch. Now, one of the benefits of the weekend is that, they basically get an extra game of an advantage over the Yankees because if they're tied, they have the tiebreaker and They will be at home, so they can use that to their advantage. And, we'll see how it shakes out with the other teams that obviously, have it over Houston. So there's some different, machinations there that'll come into play. But that's going to be a really important factor in this, assuming they don't hunt down the Blue Jays for the division.
So, Chris, it's a good point. It's a good point that because the Red Sox now own the tiebreaker, I hear you, that the Yankees actually have to beat them in the wild card race. A tie would go to the Red Sox. So in that case, they really are up a game and a half for lack of a better description. It's a good point. Let me ask you this part of it, and again, just play the game. And I understand that. Let's just say hypothetically that the Red Sox have to pitch on the final weekend of the year. They have to pitch Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo, and Lucas Giolito. Who starts the playoffs?
Yeah, well, that would be a Friday to Tuesday for Crochet. So the math, you don't have him all the way. I mean,
correct.
Honestly, like that puts game 1. That's a really tough situation there.
So who would it be though? Who would you go with? Who do you think? And who do you think they'll go with?
I think they'd go with an opener or something like that. I mean, or. If May catches fire in September, I mean, you can't even really rule out like Kyle Harrison and way dark horse somebody like Tolley. I mean, it's that short. We saw it play out, last night, and you saw it play out in the way that they are lining up for this Baltimore series. It's really, 3, and then your guess is as good as mine. And I think, it's easy to forget, right? They have 4 starting pitchers who are out for the year in Houck, Sutter Crawford, Sandoval, and Dobbins. And basically, Buehler's out of that equation, too. So he's not going back in the rotation. I know you guys, I think Big Jim thought that, they might play around with that. I think he's closer to getting DFA'd than getting put back in the rotation, honestly. So I don't know how they do it. And I think it's, like I said, it's paramount that they avoid that situation because you don't want to, I mean, that first game, if you go down 1-0, then you're fighting for your life in the next 2, So that game is in a best 2 out of 3, obviously extremely important.
Okay, and before we let you go, because I know the start of the game's coming up here tonight.
I'm home. That doesn't matter.
Okay, but you're still going to watch it anyway. But also, and I know this gets harder to answer. But what do you sense their level of confidence is right now in Dustin May? And, look, I said this earlier. I'll just say it quickly so that anyone who wasn't listening then can hear. I thought he looked, I'd say scared. He just did not look confident on that mound in Yankee Stadium. And frankly, I think he's a horrible matchup for the Yankees, particularly in New York. But are you basically telling me there was no chance they would go to Dustin May in Game 4?
I mean, there's this next month will tell you a lot. I mean, the conversation around him was a lot different 2 days ago. He had given them 2 really good starts, an excellent one in Houston, and then a more uneven one at home. But he's 2-2, 2 really bad outings and 2 good ones. So it's a guy that, has pitched in big games before. Obviously, when you pitch for the Dodgers your whole career, you're going to get your fair share of big matchups. I think, when he pitched in the World Series, that was in front of a neutral site, smaller crowd in 2020. So I wouldn't know if you'd count that, but obviously a guy who has rings, who's been, part of a winning culture. So maybe you rely on that. But I mean, this is, I know you talked also about the second guess at the deadline. It's, it's definitely not a sure thing. And so I think that's the biggest question mark facing this team down the stretch. They put themselves in a really good position, but they are thin when it comes to the rotation. And also, if any of the three of Crochet, Bayo, or Giolito dips, or for the Red Sox, God forbid, gets hurt, then I think you're in a really, really precarious situation.
Well, Chris, it's going to be a fun month anyway. Someone like me, said way back when that it would have been, that I wanted the Red Sox to play meaningful games down the stretch, so that and take your pick among who you want to talk about, but whether it's Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer at the time, but certainly Wilyer Abreu, and go right up and down the list. Ceddanne Rafaela, Jaron Durant, all these guys who have never really played in big games at Fenway Park in September and October, playoff-type games, if not actual playoff games, needed to be exposed to that, and I think we're going to get that, it feels like, here over the next few weeks.
Yep, and by the time the playoffs start, Belichick will have the heels at 4-0 or 5-0, so that's the best news of all.
Exactly right. For those of you who don't know, Chris Cotillo went to the University of North Carolina. So, Chris, listen, thanks a lot. Get to the game, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, Chris Cotillo, Mass Live, kind enough to join us. Kevin Majori is going to get you caught up on headlines. I see.
second, over the first, throws too high. He never got a good grip on it. That thing just took off on him. Oh, those are the kind of things you can slug your way to a lot of wins, but man, you got to make some defensive plays, especially double plays. Wow.
Oh boy. So a fielder's choice, and that would be in A4.
Bouncing ball right side, fielded by Goldsmith. He dropped it. Oh, he wanted to transfer. He was dropping it. He wanted to feed it to De Los Santos.
It is an E3, and of all people, that's the last person you would think would ever make an error on the field.
102nd, and he hits it to the left side. Volpe throws a second. Oh, they don't get anybody out. He didn't have a play.
The real reason they were booing is because the Yankees were a clown show for most of the weekend. Complete, total clown show. I said this earlier. They started the year 35-20. A third of the way into the season, 35-20, the Yankees, and you look like they looked early in the year. You look like they look now. The Red Sox doing all kinds of stupid things. Yankees throwing the ball all over the place, and again, don't kid yourself, they were the story this weekend. The Yankees were the story. Quickly before I get to your calls, the Red Sox up 1-0 in Baltimore. During the break, I tried to go on DraftKings, place a wager on Roman Anthony to homer tonight. Didn't get it in time, and he homered. Naturally. First batter of the game. I just like the matchup. This guy for the Orioles, Sugano, I think it is, right? More susceptible to home runs against left-handed batters like many right-handed pitchers. I thought they've seen him once before. Anthony's swinging a good bat. It's Baltimore. Better home run field is to right. I'll take my chances. Except I didn't get it down in time. Barney and Brockton on Brian Bayo. Go ahead, Barney.
Hey, Maz, quick question. Do you think that we might have been like a year ahead of expectations on Brian Bayo?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be specific to this past weekend because he was good against the Yankees, but maybe we just, maybe now he's finally maturing and getting to the place we want him to be, whereas we might have expected it a year too early. But now he's actually kind of getting there and might be the guy that we thought he would eventually become.
Barney, it was the single biggest development of the weekend. Okay, it was number one on the list. If you were to say what was the most positive thing that came out of the weekend, it's Brian Bayo in a runaway. And I tweeted this out on Saturday. Remember that on Friday night, he was matched against Max Fried. Okay, no margin for error. Fried pitched a terrific game. And he has been garbage for a little while. He was excellent Friday night. Excellent. Bayo outdid him. And not an easy ballpark for right-handed pitching. Okay, you have to be borderline perfect as a visiting right-hander in New York to get out of there without giving up any runs. And Bayo did it. Now, again, the bigger thing is the consistency. You go, and again, I was saying, I tweeted this out on, might have been Saturday morning, Friday night, I don't remember. But, and I'll see whether I can find the exact tweet for you. So just give me 1 second here, because I'm going to get the stat wrong otherwise. When it comes to Bayo, let me see here. In his last, okay, here it is. Of 55, among 55 major league pitchers with at least 75 innings since June 1, Brian Bayo ranks 9th in ERA, 9th in the majors in ERA among 55 pitchers who have thrown at least 75 innings. He's 9th. Garrett Crochet's 10th. So he's ahead of Garrett Crochet since June 1. Now, again, Crochet might have caught him on Saturday, but that was going into Saturday's game. And I would tell you that with a lot of these young Red Sox players, I think we've seen a pattern. Rafael is starting to get it basically in his third year here. Bayo, I'd have to go back and look at what year he made his debut. Jimmy, do you have that up handy? Is this Bayo's third year? He might have come up the year before. So, I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to find out what year he made his debut.
He made his debut in 2022.
Okay. So this is actually his fourth. He didn't pitch
13 games started.
Okay. So this is fourth year. And I would say, yes, a little late. And part of me comes back to the belief that a lot of these guys weren't ready for the big leagues when the Red Sox brought them up. I think we can all look at Bayo and say emotionally he was not ready for the big leagues. The stuff is off the charts. The movement and velocity, his stuff is good. But now you don't see him rattle when things go wrong. His command and control and level of execution, much, much better. He consistently throws a lot of strikes. He's more pitch efficient. The development of Bayo, if you were to come up with the single most important storylines of this season, the development of Brian Bayo it's at or near the top of the list. Let's hope it keeps up. Jack in Shrewsbury. Jack, what do you got?
Hey, Tony, just wanted to add on. I agree with your point. You got to take that fourth game. Obviously, going to the series up 5, you're not expecting to come out 9-1 against them. But after that third game, like, that is very possible to take that fourth game. In 2004, when you get to Game 7, the Sox didn't say, screw it, no one's ever done this before. We're just going to go out and expect to lose. That's a terrible mindset. And anyone that carries that should be ashamed to call himself a Red Sox fan. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, so Jack, look, I don't know that I would compare it to a playoff series because obviously those are an elimination. This is not. But the point is killer instinct. Just have the killer instinct. They didn't need the game. Okay, it wasn't a must win. It was more of a must win for the Yankees if you even want to go down that road. I'm just telling you the ramifications of that one game are not insignificant. You could be up 2 with 31 to go or tied with 31 to go. And I know everybody takes the big picture viewpoint, and it's fine. I'm just telling you, you had an opportunity to really punch him in the face last night, and you weren't able to do it. Now, I don't know how you would have done it other than maybe come up with a different pitching plan, which brings me to George and Malden. Go ahead, George.
Hi, they should have made last night's game a bullpen game. They should have used Bernardino for 2 innings, Wilson for 2 innings, and third left-hander for 2 innings, and then go from there. They would have had a better chance.
So, George, I happen to agree with you, and I'll tell you this. Going into last night, it didn't occur to me. This morning, when I saw that Bernardino was going to start tonight as an opener, and he's on the mound right now against the Orioles, I said to myself, they should have done this last night. So I agree with you. And is that second guessing? Yes, 100%. 100%. I look at it and say, after watching last night, Dustin May was not the right guy to send to the mound in New York. In fact, if they end up having to play that series in New York, I'm not sure I'd put May on the roster. Unless you tell me that you want him to have some sort of, one big at bat or, in the middle of the game, there's guys at the bottom of the order who are right-handed. Even then, I would tell you you're vulnerable to a pinch hitter. Having him face lefties at Yankee Stadium would absolutely, positively scare the crap out of me. Terrified. I think he was terrified. I'd be terrified of putting him on the mound. I can't remember which home run he gave up. I think it was the first one to Grisham when he kind of threw his head in the air as if he couldn't believe it, or he knew it was a mistake and knew it was gone. Anything in the air to right field in New York is major trouble. That guy, you can't put him in a game against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. Can't do it. Jimmy, that's a good stat or trivia question. Not trivia question, but a good stat for the nerds. Maybe someone could email me this. Again, Tony at 985thesportshub.com or Maz with 2 Z's at 985thesportshub.com. What the Yankees are hitting, or better yet, the performance of right-handed starters in New York against the Yankees this year. You got that? The performance of right-handed starters in New York against the Yankees this year. I bet you it's gruesome. Like gory gruesome. Paul on the Cape. Paul, go ahead.
Yes, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. First time caller. Hey, Pat Kid.
Okay, what do you got, Paul? Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
All right, look, I love your passion. I get a little bummed out because you get negative. And so they win 3 out of 4 against New York, and it's because Yankees, are awful. I go back to 67. I wish you get a little more positive.
Okay, so there you go. So that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate conclusion, right, Paul? You want me to be more positive?
Well, no, I'm sorry. I don't mean it disrespectfully, but the point is...
It's okay.
Come on. 67, 75. I go way back to that stuff. I'm older than you, and I played in the same league in college ahead of you.
Okay. So, Paul, here's what I would tell you. Back then, remember, they didn't win anything because they couldn't win the last game. So it took them a long time to finally start winning and recognizing that you got to play to the very end. Now, you're not insulting me. It's okay. I tend to look at the negative. And in fact, if they were to win the World Series, I would probably celebrate for 10, 20 minutes. I'm not even sure I would celebrate, but I would acknowledge the achievement. And then you know what I would do? And this is just my nature. I'm sorry. I would say, okay, who are they going to keep? Who are they going to get rid of? And how are they going to win it next year? So I can't help being the way I am when it comes to that. I tend to always think of the next thing in terms of what the challenge is. When it goes right, I sort of look at it and say, well, that's how it's supposed to go. So now let's move on to the next thing and make sure it doesn't go wrong. So, but I understand your point. They had a good weekend. I'd say that over and over again, but nobody ever hears that part, which is another lesson in humanity. People only hear what they want to hear, and they believe what they want to believe, and nothing you say or do can change their opinions once they have it, for the most part. Peter in a car on Garrett Crochet. Go ahead, Peter. What do you got?
Just, on the last interview, I think it's risky to go for the first wild card if it goes into that last weekend and use him, because the worst case scenario is you lose, and now what do you got for that one-game playoff?
So, Peter, I'm sorry. It's not a one-game playoff. It's a 3-game series, best out of 3.
If they lose and fall into the second spot, then you're looking at a one-game playoff.
No, you're not. You're playing a 3-game series either way, and I'm glad you brought this up because, see, this hasn't happened in Boston yet. And when I say it hasn't happened, the Red Sox haven't made the playoffs since 2021. The playoff format has changed. It's not the same playoff format anymore. There is no one-game playoff anymore. It's gone. It's a 3-game series no matter what. The only way you don't play a 3-game series is if you finish as division champion and you have one of the 2 best records in the American League. The top 2 seeds in the playoffs, both division winners, those 2 teams will get a bye in the first round. They don't play it at all. They jump right to a 5-game series. Everyone else has to play a 3-game series. The only question is whether you're playing at home or on the road. So if you pitch Garrett Crochet on the weekend and you lose, Garrett Crochet can still pitch in the next round, but it might not be until game 2. Now, if you get to the final day of the season and Crochet is scheduled to go, that's a different argument altogether. So ideally, but I'm just trying to give you a scenario. What you are playing for right now is home field. You will either play at home or on the road if you're a wild card team. It's that simple. That's the way you got to think of it. You're playing if you're a wild card team, you are playing a 3-game series. And you will either be at home or on the road. And if you finish as a top wildcard team, you'll be at home. It's that simple. I'd rather be at Fenway Park. And I think they would too. Now, if it gets to the final day of the season, what do? Well, that one, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But in any case, Red Sox up again 1-0 in Baltimore.